In this video I'm going to describe the layouts and how does them work in the process of printing with paper space in AutoCAD. The main goal of this video is to distinguish the different workspaces that you have to work with in AutoCAD, the model and paper space, and to define a layout in the paper space in AutoCAD. This is the index of the video. First we will start with an introduction, then how can you go from the model space to the paper space, how can you define the layouts in the paper space, how can you work with the model space in the layouts, and finally we will finish with a summary. In the introduction, I would like to highlight that in the two workspaces that you have in AutoCAD, the model, mainly you draw and modify and create the dimensions and do the most important part of the drawing in the model space. And when you have to print is when you go into the paper space. So paper space is mainly designed to print the work that you have done previously in the model space. But you can also print in the model space. The thing is that in the model space you have a way of printing, but it's less powerful and versatile. So it's I recommend you to use paper space when you want to print. Well, this is the look of the model space. Is the space where the workspace that you use for drawing mainly. It's a general purpose workspace. As I have told you before, you do in this workspace the main part of the process of creating a drawing. As you can see in the lower tab that you have in the lower left corner, you have a tab with the label model and several tabs with the label layout. Well, when you are in model space, you have the symbol of coordinates, this axis, and you have the word model in the status bar. So you can identify that you are in the model space with this tab and this word. But sometimes when you have finished your work in the model space, you can go to the layouts in the paper space. In order to change to layouts, you have several possibilities. First, you have the lower tabs with the label layout 1, 2, and so on. If you click with the left button of the mouse on this tab, you will go into the paper space. But you can also click on this word model, and then it will turn into paper, and then you will go into the paper space. Here you have both screens. On the left you have the model space, on the right the paper space. So the paper space is a new way of drawing, but mainly thought to create the sheet of paper to print that sheet of paper. And you can have several views simultaneously. As you can see here in the right, in the image on the right, you have the whole view of the drawing, the floor plan, and here you have a detail. But apart from creating the layout, you have the possibility of going into the model space in layout. So it's the way that you use for going into the interior of the viewport, the window. When you go into the model space in the layout, you have the same way of working in general as in the model. And in the process of printing, the main thing of this way of doing the work in AutoCAD is that is the way for giving a scale to each viewport in the layout. So when you go into the paper space, you have different signals that you can use for identifying that you are in this workspace. First, you have the symbol of coordinates. You have this triangle, and you have the tab with the label layout X, and here you have in the status bar you have the word paper. Here you have, and when you go into the model space you have the layout activated, but instead of the triangle you have this symbol XY in each viewport. In this case you have only one viewport, so you have only one axis, but if you would have more viewports you would have more symbols in each viewport. And you have the word model, so you are in the layout but in the model. So to sum it up this video, you have a model space with a general purpose, mainly for drawing, modifying, measuring, working in general, and when you want to print you have the paper space as a very powerful tool. But apart from that you have a way of working, a mixed way of working. The model space in layouts is mainly the most important thing that is for assigning the scale to each viewport in the layout. And that's all.